Hello guys, my name is Sandeep and welcome to my YouTube channel. This video is the first video in the series of introduction to REXX programming language. REXX is a very popular programming language in the mainframe industry. So in today's video, I'll be discussing about the different looping structures in REXX. We're going to discuss about looping structures in REXX. Um, Basically, in REXX, there are two types of looping structures. First one is the iterative type iterative, and the second one is infinite loop. Infinite loop, as its name itself suggests, it's the loop which has no ending. Once on execution, the loop executes infinitely. That specifically has a loop structure that allows you to set up infinite loop. Finite loop, iterative loop is another iterative type of looping structure in REXX. It is used to repeat a set of instruction for a specified number of times. So in REXX there are basically two types of looping structure, a iterative and an infinite looping structures. To demonstrate that, I'll be using a combination of two applications, one of the modern tools and one of the more commonly used tool, that is the terminal connection of uh, TN3270. So for the demonstration purpose, I'll be using both the tools in a combination of two. The tool that I'll be using is a VS Code, which is a modern tool, and I'll be using the traditional traditional ISPF terminal. Okay, so I'll go ahead and fire up the VS Code onto my system. VS Code basically needs connection to our mainframe using a Zoe open source API application. I have the Zoe application already set up onto my system. So let's go ahead and connect to my mainframe. Okay, it will connect and get the dataset list that I have. By that time, let me fire up the 3270 terminal. Um, okay, okay. As you can see, it is connecting. Let's see if the connection is set up. Yes. Um, so my VS Code is now connected to the mainframe, and I have all the PS datasets available on my system. Also, the ISPF terminal is connected now. So I'll demonstrate the looping structure. I have few PS already defined over here. So I'll begin with creating a new member and demonstrate you how to use looping structures in REXX. So let's add a new member. It's loop 5, loop 5, loop 6 in continuation of loop 5. Okay. So before I go ahead and show you the looping structure of the REXX and execute them, I need to set up I need to set up the uh, this ES dataset, PDS dataset list into my ISR DDN. So for the setup purpose, I have this allocate DDN statement. This allocations basically allocates the data sets that you want to allocate in the current TSO connection that you have made. So I'll go ahead and just execute this setup so that the PDS where I am writing my REXX code would be available for execution. So to execute the REXX, I'll go into the ISPF screen. Here I'm going to the DS list option. This is my CS list where I have the setup stored over here, and I'll just go ahead and execute this. If you see, yes, I have all the DSNs that I want to allocate for the current TSO execution. So I'll set up this, I'll execute this. Okay, so now you can see there is an RC code 0, so the execution is complete. You can verify it by going into the TS by running this TSO transaction ISR DDN. When you run this and you check the sysexec, here you can see now a data set or my personal data set is available into my system execution library. So basically, for any REXX program to get executed, we need to have the dataset name allocated onto our system exec profiles. So the setup is complete, so we can begin with our demonstration. I'll switch back to the VS Code. The interface is very easy to use, and so I'll begin with showing you the looping function, looping structures in REXX. So the first loop that we'll be looking at is the do loop. So I'll just change this extraction type as REXX and give the every REXX program is required to have a REXX notation in the first line. This tells the system that this is a REXX program and it can execute it. So demo on looping structures in REXX. This is how we give a comment in our REXX code. So the comments are given by a single slash, then a asterisk, which means that our comment line is started. You can give your comments and you can give an asterisk and a slash again. So that means the comment line is ended over here. Okay. So we are going to demonstrate on looping structures in REXX. So to loop, first you do keyword, you give a variable name, initialize it to the first variable, and to, let's say we want to iterate it up to 1 to 20. So do 1 to 20 and say count of loop and this. So this is how loop is defined in a REXX program. Do I 1 to n, that means the last last number of iteration that you want to have. So basically this code will iterate from 1 to 20, beginning from 1 to 20, and the following statement, that is say is just like a display statement or a system console.write line or console.log, similar to a JS programming language. So say will basically display or say this message, a string, onto the screen. So let's go ahead and save this. It is saving the database onto our mainframe system. Dataset is saved. Let us go back into the CList PDS where we are saving our codes. Okay, so you see that we have loop C and This is what we are expecting it to execute. So to execute any REXX program, you need to just give an EX against the program name, and it will just start the execution of the program. And you can see the execution has started, and it is saying count of loop, the message that we written in the program, starting from 1 up till 20. Okay. There are many types of looping structures in REXX. This is the one type. Another type is where we can iterate it from by a step that we mentioned. So by giving a step, let me just create another member where I'll demonstrate you the same. Okay. Um, yeah. So just change this plain text to REXX. So it will be easy to see now. The highlights shows that this is a variable. This is the do loop structure. Let's suppose I want to iterate it, but iterate it by jumping or having some defined steps that I want to take before iterating it. So to define step, we say let's take a step by 2. That means it will iterate from 1 by 2 means 1 3 3 plus by 2, that is 5. So it will iterate it this way. And now if I just go ahead and save this, so basically it will iterate from 1 to 20 by making an increment of 2. Let's go ahead and execute the loop 7. To execute it, you just give an EX against it. So you can see there are this many iterations that has been done. So there are 10 iterations basically because by incrementation of 2 there are 10 outputs that we can see here. Okay, so this is one type of looping structure. Let's create one more member, loop 8, and this time we will define the number of uh, times we need to iterate. Let's suppose I want to iterate it by 2 for, let's say, 5 times. So what does this will do is the syntax code will execute this. Let's say we say by 5, that means there would be 4 iterations performed. Okay, so let's say if I give 5 times in 2, that means there would be only 5 iterations or 10 iterations. Let's go ahead and save this. As you can see, loop 8 is saved, and if I go and execute them, as you can see, we can simplify say statements being executed. Why? Because when a loop structure starts executing from I is equals to 1, it steps up by 2 and it has a value of 3, then it steps up by 5 and it has a value of 3. So it also checks with for statement as 5. If this for 5 it means that 5 iterations has been done, then it will stop the execution. But if we give here 50, so obviously there would be only maximum 10 iterations that would be performed based on the I is equals to 1 to 20 by 2. So 10 displays would be done, and once this I is to 220 is satisfied, the loop would be terminated. So let's just save this and enter to come out of the TSO screen. Okay, here we'll try to execute again with 4 is equals to 50, and you can see there are 10 execution been performed. After this execution, the I value is set to 20, hence the termination of the loop is done. Okay, so thank you guys for watching today's video. These are some of the looping structures in REXX. There are many more. I'll be uh, recording few more looping structures for REXX in the next video. Thank you guys for watching the video.